Fear Street Prom Queen follows up on the excellent Fear Street trilogy that came out on Netflix in 2021. Does this new entry follow along with that one, or does it go on its own path? Let's go through the good, the bad, and the ugly of Fear Street Prom Queen. So let's kick it off right here with the premise. If you haven't read the Fear Street Prom Queen book from 1992 from R.L. Stine, yes, this movie is based on an actual book this time instead of the Fear Street trilogy, which was more of an original story with the shady side kind of stuff mixed in. The premise follows Lori, who is an outcast in high school, but she emerges as a prom queen candidate up against Tiffany, who's the leader of the Wolf Pack, who is the popular girl that everybody, deals with because she's super popular. Her parents are powerful. Her dad's a teacher at the high school, stuff like that. She controls everything that's going on here at Shady Side High for the prom and for the prom queen competition here. Lori has a friend, Megan, who's a big horror fan. She helps her out. She's her date to the prom. And as the movie goes along, the prom queen candidates start getting killed off one by one until you get to the explosive finale of Fear Street Prom Queen. So let's go into the good, because there is some good here. There's a lot of good here with the premise, the kills, the music, the sort of feeling of the film. To kick it off with the best thing here, the characters, the main characters, Tiffany and Lori, they're both incredibly relatable and unrelatable in their own ways. Lori is played by India Fowler, who injects the role here with, if you've ever been through as a teenager and you felt, like an outcast, you felt like you didn't fit in, she gets that vibe and pulls it into this performance. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, Dina Straza as Tiffany really captures the just bitchy high school girl that knows she can get away with anything and does get away with everything kind of role the best. She's horrible, she's mean, she's awful to everybody, and she does a great job here in her performance. The film, it has some nice kills. It has some good kills. Some of them are a little bit digital and all of that, but in this landscape of horror, you can't really say like, hey, we need everything to be practical. There are some great kills here though. Somebody gets 2 of their limbs chopped off and then tries to open a doorknob and then they die. Some other ones are really nice. It builds tension pretty well, and it lets you breathe as an audience. That's the best part about this, is that it's not just kill. It kind of lets the movie breathe a little bit, and it's an hour and a half long, so it feels very sort of formulaic, but in a good way. And that formulaic feeling does come back to haunt the film a little bit later on, but we'll get to that when we get to the bad and the ugly portions of this review. The music here by the Newton Brothers is fantastic. Their compositions feel like 80s films. They feel like they match the time period. The actual music, the licensed stuff that they use is also good. Netflix has a track record of sort of picking the sort of tippy top of the bare minimum of the lowest common denominator. I know that all doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but they pick like the most 80s things that they can for these types of movies. And this one goes a little bit below the surface. You get some deeper 80s tracks here that are nice, that fit in with the whole vibe of the film. The bad of the film, it is based on the book, but it doesn't follow the book as well or really as much as I would have liked. Obviously, you're not going to adapt a young adult novel from 1992 here and just do that, but the film needed some time with the characters, like the side characters in particular. They get left out here. They feel like they're just kind of there to move the plot along, and you don't really get to know them. You don't really, like, her friend Megan, she's a horror fan. Well, there's no reason for her to be a horror fan other than kind of fan service to people watching the movie. It doesn't really add anything. It's not substantive to the film. It's just kind of there because, hey, it's cool. Outside of that, the bad also here, the aesthetic and the design of the film. The look and feel of the film, it feels like a movie that's pretending to be an 80s movie. It doesn't feel like an 80s movie. It doesn't feel like it's the 80s. It feels like it's kind of emulating that, like you're looking at it through a screen of like, oh, here's what the 80s looked like. So that kind of sets the film back a little bit, because the trailers looked so much like, oh, hey, this is going to be an 80s slasher. It's going to look and feel like one. And this doesn't quite get there. Like I was mentioning about the book happens over a course of like a couple weeks. This happens over the course of like 2 days, 2-ish days. So you don't get like a whole lot to get in with Lori. They do a good job of making her relatable with her performance and all of that, but the rest of the characters are kind of just thrown in and you don't get to know them. You don't get to know who they are or how they fit into this whole thing, really. It's just kind of like rushed. And it is an hour and a half, but there is a point where now we'll get into the ugly section of the review here, where there's a twist at the end, and the whole third act, it feels stunted because they have to kind of fit this shoehorned thing in at the end, and it doesn't really work. You know, the movie ends, and then you get like another 15 minutes, and you're looking at your watch going like, what the heck? Like, it's supposed to conclude here, you're supposed to have a resolution, and then yeah, it gets to a false finish. But that false finish, one, you can see it coming from a mile away, and two, it just kind of falls flat, and it makes the film end on kind of like a note, instead of ending where it could be, you know, this excellent sort of little slasher that's a bit formulaic and all of that, but it could have ended a bit better for me. And that whole derivative feeling of it is very derivative of Scream. I saw Ariana Greenblatt on the cast, and she wasn't first listed. What does that mean? That's not really much of a spoiler, because that happens very early on in the film, but it is derivative of other things, and it goes so far past the point of like wink and a nod to like, oh, you're just kind of getting this formula and using it. Now, with all of that said, the film is what I would call a gateway horror movie. It is a gateway for newer people to get into the genre. It's not for people that love Terrifier 3 or The House That Jack Built or Fire in the Sky. Like, if you go to bed and you laugh at The Exorcist, or you like fall asleep watching, you know, the worst of the worst horror movies, this movie's not for you. You might enjoy it, but it is not made for you. This movie is just like the Fear Street novels, just like Goosebumps, where it is supposed to be an introduction, an olive branch for the audience to go, do you want to get into horror movies but you don't really know how? Well, here, you can watch this movie and you'll learn some of the hallmarks of slasher movies or some of the hallmarks of horror movies. And then you'll be like, hey, I kind of like this, I want to watch more. That's what Fear Street Prom Queen is really here to do. And so it doesn't reach the heights of the previous trilogy, which is an excellent threesome of great horror movies with, you know, time periods that work and everything's characters, side characters that we love. This one, it falls a little bit short of that, but it still ends up as an excellent horror movie, an excellent slasher movie, an introduction, if you would, a horror movie, slasher 101. You can include Fear Street Prom Queen in that. It's not perfect by any means, but it does get the job done, and it is a little bit fun to watch for an hour and a half, and then you're out. You're not there for very long. So Fear Street Prom Queen is out on Netflix right now. You can go ahead and watch it and stream it. And go ahead and watch it. And if you haven't seen the original Fear Street trilogy, go watch those too. Make it a quadrilogy if you want to. If you like this review and you want to see more reviews, you can check out this whole playlist of reviews I have right here. It's all of my film reviews that I've ever done on YouTube.